The 7th Gen Civic is a car that lots of people love to hate. Yes, there are good reasons to hate it, but also there are some great reasons to love it as well. We're going to be talking about those in this video, as well as what to look out for if you're actually going to buy and if you're looking into purchasing one of these 7th Gen Civics. There are definitely a few things that you want to look out for that we're going to talk about in this video, as well as just some great things that you might want to hear about if you're looking into seriously buying one of these Civics in 2025, or really anytime after 2025 for that matter. The first thing we have to talk about with the 7th Gen Civic, and it's a positive, is that a lot of people don't like these Civics, and a lot of people don't want to drive these Civics. At least the enthusiasts who want a Honda Civic are probably going to skip over these Civics, so you can get them for a decent price. Even if you go to a dealership, you might be able to snag one for $3,000 or $4,000. Yes, that is a bit much, but if you look into Facebook Marketplace or something, you can actually get one of these Civics for really cheap, even like $2,000 or $3,000. These Civics are not loved by the Honda enthusiasts and by people who actually want a Honda Civic, so you can get one for really cheap, and that's probably the #1 reason why I would buy one, is just because it's an older Civic, it's a smaller Civic. Most of the newer Civics are a little bit bigger, and they're a lot more expensive. These 7th Gen Civics you can find for a reasonable price as long as you find one that runs good and has been taken care of, and just make sure that it runs great. Like with any car, there's going to be issues here or there, and with the Civic, it's no different. Each generation of the Civic, you want to look out for certain things, and with the 7th Gen Civic, there are some major issues that you definitely want to watch out for before buying one, or if you already have one. #1, I would look out for head gasket issues. Make sure your Civic or a Civic you're potentially going to be buying does not have any issues with the head gasket. You want to make sure that your antifreeze looks good. Make sure that there's no oil mixing with your antifreeze. If antifreeze is mixing with your oil, you're going to see a milky look to it, and that means that the head gasket is failing. Also, if you do own one of these Civics, you want to make sure you're not losing lots of antifreeze. Now, you can lose some to evaporation. That's perfectly normal, but if you're losing a lot, like every week, you probably have an issue and you want to check it out. You could have leaks, you could have a failing head gasket, and that's obviously not good. But #1 thing to look out for is a failing head gasket in these cars. Now, just because these cars can be prone to a bad head gasket does not mean that it will happen to you. You see a lot of these Civics on the road, and that is because they're still driving because they're pretty reliable. You just have issues that you might want to look out for if you're ending up purchasing one, or if you already own one. Another thing to look out for with the 7th Gen Civic, which I never had an issue on any one of my other Civics, and I've owned a lot, is the alternator backing out and becoming loose. The alternator on these Civics is grounded by the block, so if it's not tight, the alternator will actually stop being grounded and it will actually burn out the ECU. When that happens, you'll get a blinking key light on the dash, a check engine light, and then the car will go into limp mode. This is a big issue, and you can check out my videos how to fix this issue on my channel in the 7th Gen Civic playlist, but it is definitely not fun to fix, and I actually fixed it on the 7th Gen Civic that I owned, and it wasn't fun. So you want to make sure that the alternator does not back out, you don't have issues with that, and then you'll never have to fix it. Another reason why a lot of Honda enthusiasts don't like the 7th Gen Civic and why you could get it for cheaper is because Honda changed a lot of things to lower quality, including the suspension and some of the interior. Now, these Civics are prone to having the fabric on the doors just fall right off and hang off. And the seats, for some reason, the driver's seat in my 7th gen Civic and my 2nd gen CRV, they both had a wobbly driver's seat. Now in my 2nd gen CRV, it's not as bad, but in my 7th gen Civic, it was so bad, it would actually rock back and forth until I just put something in there. I basically wedged something underneath the seat so it would not rock. But that's just some weird quirks that these Civics had, is that the seats would just rock. In the driver's seat, it would just rock back and forth, and obviously that's just annoying, but it's not a deal breaker, as well as the fabrics just falling off of the doors. This was also happening in my 2nd gen CRV. I ended up fixing the fabrics on the doors just by gluing them back on, but Honda used a really bad glue on the door fabrics in the 7th gen Civics that really just did not hold. It would fall right off. Also, the door handles on the interior of these Civics can have the chrome chip off, which will leave you with like a partly yellow, part chrome door handle on the inside. Now, that's not a deal breaker. This isn't the biggest deal. It's just something to look out for, and it is just annoying. But these cars are over 20 years old. They're really old cars, and you still see them on the road, which means they're pretty reliable. And even Honda's worst generation of their Civics, because people say this is probably the worst generation, is still probably better than a lot of other car makers. Another thing about these Civics is that if you're doing maintenance on the intake air filter, it's a really strange filter versus the old box filters from the EK and the EG Civics. Now, the intake box on these Civics is just strange. It has screws on it which can get stripped and stop sealing. Obviously, that's not Honda's fault. That is from prior owners tightening them on too tight. But I've had these screws stripped in my first 7th gen Civic, and in this 7th gen Civic, which I'm showing all of the pictures of, it was stripped so bad, I think like most of them were stripped out, where it was just leaking air straight into there, and I just upgraded to an aftermarket intake, and it fixed the problem immediately. So yes, there are things to look out for with the 7th gen Civics. Obviously, none of this applies to the SI. The SI comes with a K-Series, which is extremely reliable, but if you find a really clean example that was well maintained and in good condition, you should be fine. These Civics are definitely overlooked by most of the Honda car community, and that is a good thing if you're looking for a cheap older Civic. I built this Civic up from stock. It was completely stock. I got it for like $2,400, and I built it up into what you see in these videos and in this video, and it was a great car. It was a really good car. It did have issues. I fixed those issues. Now I know what to look out for if I was ever to get another one of these Civics. And yeah, if you get it for really cheap, I think it's worth it. Now, if you're spending a lot on it, if you're getting one for $5,000 or $4,500, it's probably not worth it. But if you find one for $1,500, $1,800, $2,200, I think it's worth it. This Civic had an issue with the AC. I fixed it, and it is running to this day, like 2 years after I sold it. And I still see this Civic all the time, and it's still running good. This 7th gen actually had over 200,000 miles, and it is running strong still. I would never know if I didn't see the odometer. So they are good cars if you find a good example and if you take care of them. Like with any other car, yes, it does have some issues, and just because these Civics are prone to have those issues doesn't mean yours will. I've seen plenty of people on my channel say that they've owned these and had them for years and years without any issues, so it's not every single 7th gen Civic that you'll get an issue, but these are just things that you might want to look out for. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Let me know if you guys own one of these 7th gen Civics. Let me know if you own a reliable 7th gen Civic, and let me know your experience if you've owned one and you've had problems with them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.